We're at the 2015 SMSF Association National Conference, and this is another video interview brought to you by Self-Managed Super and Domicom, the fractional property investment specialists. And joining me is Louise Biti, Director of Strategy Steps, who's just presented to delegates about aged care issues. And in particular, you spoke about funding aged care and how that interacts with account-based pensions.
I did.
So what were some of the key messages there?
I think the real key message is looking at that advisors are so used to thinking about account-based pensions either for early retirees or in those early drawdown stages. And what I was looking at is that at the point where a person gets to aged care, we're nearly in the shutdown phase. And it takes a different way of looking and thinking about your account-based pensions because there has been so much focus on the shift from deductible account rules to deeming rules, and everybody has the impression that deductible amount is better. But when you're looking at an aged care person, often they've had their account-based pension running a long time. They're drawing at much higher levels than somebody at 65, and so often the deductible amount rules can actually be worse than deeming, particularly in this low deeming environment. So what I'm looking at is that when we think account-based pensions, we think tax effective, we think Centrelink effective, we think great for passing on to your spouse and for generating regular income. But a person moving to aged care can get other tax concessions that they may not need that tax. They may not have a spouse, so I don't need to worry about that. They are often drawing far more income than they actually need, and often the deeming rules are way better. So what we did was a case study looking at a person moving into care who needs to pay for accommodation, and they had an option of cashing in shares and cash or cashing in the account-based pension. Often the inclination is keep the account-based pension for all those reasons, but in that particular scenario it was better to cash the account-based pension out. So it will depend case by case. It does just require advisors to think carefully, to look carefully, and also not to forget that the account-based pensions often have quite a bit of tax lurking for the estate. So often it may be better off cash that out while the person gets it tax-free so that the estate doesn't have a tax problem as well.
Is one of the keys to revisit these situations on a more frequent sort of basis?
Look, it can be, because as deeming rates change, the relative values will change. It is most important to look at it at the point where the person's moving into care and they need to make a decision what to sell and which one to keep. But it does require ongoing, and particularly where it's a couple, because with couples, they go in as a couple and that creates an outcome for Centrelink and aged care fees. If one person passes away and the other person inherits all the assets and inherits the account-based pensions, they may find that they lose the age pension, they pay a lot more in fees. But having revisited it earlier and done a bit of estate planning, thought about whether to split assets and to change wills so that the person who passes away divests their assets down to the next generation, can in some cases have a lot better outcomes. So it really is just about a different way of thinking and looking at the account-based pensions. Don't assume they're better than cash. Don't assume they're better than shares. Think about the tax issues. Think about the future where you've got couples, and looking at the whole circumstance to decide which one to actually keep or which one to sell.
Okay, thanks Louise.
No worries, thank you.